Welcome to What Are You Sporting About podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Sivonnia DeBarros.
Hello. It's Sivonnia DeBarros, the protector of athletes, also the founder and principal attorney of the S.L. DeBarros Law Firm. I'm so excited to be back with you guys again today. So I have a great, fast topic for you. I just want to make sure that you are keeping your head up and are encouraged to finish the week out strong, but also to go into the remainder of this month with the proper mindset so you can get out of it what you desire. So I do want to remind you guys that Athletes Making Moves, my new book, launched the end of July 31st of this year, and I'm super excited about it. If you are interested in getting a copy of the book, make sure that you make your way over to athletesmakingmoves.com. So I'll give you a second to do that, and I will post the link for you guys so that you can get your copy. Perfect. So you'll see it there at the bottom of my screen. I'm also going to be doing something amazing, guys. You know, NIL is so new. People are still trying to figure their way around it. And I dropped so many nuggets in Athletes Making Moves. As you know, there are two books. So there's the standard edition, special edition. But I know that I just hate bringing information to people without giving them a way to digest the information. So I'm going to be hosting my first Q&A. I haven't yet quite decided the actual date as of the recording of this episode, but if you are interested in making sure you are in the room to ask the questions that are necessary to help you or your student athlete to thrive in name, image, and likeness, make sure that you drop your email into my DMs. That way I can send you the registration form when we have it all set up. So I just want to drop that nugget for you guys that a Q&A is coming. And there's also something amazing that my team and I are going to develop around the book so you can start implementing a lot of the information, the resources that is inside of the Athletes Making Moves book. All right, so make sure you drop that email. I'm super excited about this. So look, I titled this topic, I Never Lose. And if you are at all familiar with Nelson Mandela, he has a quote, or he's been quoted saying, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." And I think it's so important to take that mindset into the world with you, into your job, into your school, into your relationships, that I never lose. I either win or I learn. Let's break that down a little bit, because I think sometimes if an individual said, "Well, I never lose," it may come off as cocky. It may come off as an individual who doesn't really care about, I guess, maybe their achievements or how other people may feel about certain things. But I believe that you have to have that kind of ideal and perspective around life to keep you going, because when we technically lose in the sense of how society describes being a loser, it's a form of rejection, and a lot of people cannot handle rejection. So now how do I reorient that ideal of rejection or that idea of losing into a positive spin where I'm not losing? I don't lose. And so your spirits can remain high because you know that there's something new that I've learned. So here is another example. We just finished up the Olympics, and I watched so many athletes compete I mean, oh my gosh, in different sports that I hadn't even watched before. Like I sat there and watched equestrian. I think that's how it's called. People on the horses jumping over the little poles and stuff. And I saw some of the most beautiful horses, and the way that they jumped over the obstacles. Some of them, their legs jerked back. But what did you learn as an athlete on that horse and how to guide your horse, right? What did you learn as an athlete on a long distance or marathon race? What did you learn as an athlete, as a biker or a triathlon or a rowing athlete? What are you learning in your own business? What happened to you this week that made you feel rejected, right? Or that made you feel like you just made the biggest mistake in your life and it could possibly cost you your job? That can be anybody. You can be an athlete making a mistake on the field, court, pool, or wherever, thinking you may lose your job. You can be a regular person sitting in the office and have made a mistake and you think you're going to lose your job. You think in that moment that you've lost. But what you have to do is remind yourself that, hold on, wait. I never lose. I never lose. So if you haven't won anything, then the only other option is, what have I learned? And I take that into my relationships, that idea. I never lose. I may not have won in the way that I think that maybe this relationship should have worked out, whether it's a business relationship, a romantic relationship, a family relationship, but what have I learned? Not only what have I learned about that person, but what have I learned about myself? How do I deal with conflict? How do I talk to somebody? How do I perceive certain things that may have gotten me up in arms about a situation where I didn't have to take it that way? What have I learned? I think that's so important for people to grasp that idea and that understanding around whatever it is that you're doing in your life, because if you operate from the standpoint of feeling rejected, that will in turn result in inaction, someone who's afraid to make moves because they don't like the feeling of rejection. And if you don't like the feeling of rejection, then that will make you afraid to actually step out on faith and do something that you may actually want to do, right? So instead of worrying about the rejection piece, instead of worrying about losing and you haven't even started yet, why don't you think about, what is it that I can learn from this? What is it that I can learn from this? And there are also some other descriptors that I wrote down around I never lose that really made me think about the different pieces of characteristics that are built up in a person if they can go out with that idea, that mindset, that perspective around I never lose. If you think you never lose, you'll try. You will try. And what happens when you try is it builds up a type of grit in you. And I know you've heard of grit. Like, what is grit? Somebody who is saying, you know what? I don't care what's going to happen. I'm going to try this anyway. I'm going to pull up my sleeves. I'm going to lace up my shoes. I'm going to put my big boy pants on or whatever. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to get it. Grit, working with grit. You know, grit doesn't have to be dirty. It doesn't have to be you sweating and doing all kind of stuff. It simply means I'm going after whatever my heart desires. Whatever my heart desires. And that means I'm going to work for it because I never lose. So what can I learn along the way? I mean, winning is just the cherry on the top. And if you're working with the grit of it all, if you're really putting your all into everything, and if you don't win, you do win essentially because you're learning something that's going to help you eventually win. Okay. I never lose also creates patience. As an athlete myself, and I know a ton of athletes, I know that we can get caught up in the fast gratification of wanting to see the results that we haven't worked long enough for yet. I mean, come on, y'all. I'm guilty of this too. I am guilty of this too, right? When you start something, you're putting work in it, you want to see it manifest quickly. But I Never Lose can help you to develop patience. It's something I've been working on for a long time. It can help you to develop patience. And when you develop patience, it reverts back to that grit that I was talking about, right? Okay, nothing doesn't seem like it's happening on the surface, but what can I do to keep learning and keep moving and rowing this boat forward? What can I do? How can I do anything, or do I need to do anything differently to reach the result that I desire? Patience. It's creating patience. So we have grit and patience, all from the idea of I never lose. Determination. For you to even have grit, for you to practice patience, you have to be determined. Because like I just said not too long ago, around rejection, a lot of people will give up and say, you know, that's just not for me. That's just not for me. I can't do that because I have never won and I don't really see exactly what this is teaching me. That instant gratification I was speaking about sometimes can come also in the situation of learning something. Sometimes people don't think that they may not be learning anything at the moment because it hasn't showed up the way that they think it's supposed to show up, right? Or they may be operating from a mindset or perspective that is so one-sided that until they can open their minds around what is happening or what they're possibly doing, or from the advice of other people, or from what just, analyzing what other people are doing, it will sabotage their position to think that they are constantly losing when they probably are not, right? And so what it does is it sticks a fork into any form of determination that they may have had. It burns out and they just say, I don't want to. But when you operate from I never lose, and you find that willpower, because you know that even if I can't recognize what I'm supposed to learn and get from this right now, if I stay determined, if I implement some willpower, and if I keep just pushing this along and recognizing what I'm doing. Am I doing this right or am I doing this wrong? That may mean that I have to go and talk to somebody, but am I continuing? Am I pushing through? Am I working and operating with grit? And am I giving myself time, patience, to help continue to build that determination, to help build that willpower so that I can learn what I'm supposed to get out of this? And when I learn what I'm supposed to get out of this, I'm winning. I'm winning. I always think about blessings, spiritual blessings. Everyone prays for something specific, right? Or maybe not specific enough, but they pray for something. And because it hasn't manifested fast or exactly the way the individual think it should manifest, then they feel like they've lost. They feel like God or the spirit or whatever you believe in has failed them, right? but you haven't prayed with grit, with the intensity of wanting to change whatever circumstance it is. You haven't been patient enough to actually allow it to manifest, whatever the thing is that you're manifesting about. You gave up so easily. You failed to implement a determination in your life as well, because I'm reminded all the time that work without prayer is dead. Like, you can't just hope that something happens and you not also put in the work. Because when you don't put in the work, when you don't do anything, yeah, you do lose in the traditional sense of losing. But the beauty of that too is you also learn the fact that you lost because you didn't do anything. So it's essential that we understand that we have to put in the work, and we can't just stop midway because we don't receive the instant gratification or the way the lesson, or maybe even the win part of it doesn't show up the way that we think it's supposed to show up. There are many people who miss their blessings because they prayed for something, but when the blessing came to them, it didn't take on the same idea that they had. And so they completely missed it. What are you willing to be patient about? What are you willing to implement grit on? What are you willing to be determined and implement a massive willpower in your life about? Are you willing to operate from I never lose? Are you willing to do that? Because I guarantee you, if you can say to yourself, each and every time you think that things aren't going your way and you say, I never lose, hold on. Let me get my mind right. I never lose. It makes me think about this podcast and the questions to this podcast. What are you sporting about? Because whatever you're sporting about, you cannot afford to just give up. You can't afford to do that. So I challenge you to say to yourself each and every time that I never lose, because in the words of Nelson Mandela, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And let me tell y'all something, even if you win in the traditional and societal sense of winning, there is something to learn at that stage as well. And if you want to ascend further than whatever that stage may be, you will still need to learn to win at the next level. So I hope that this impacts you positively, and I hope that you're able to look at your days in a different way, have a different perspective around what is happening to you. But I also want you to take this idea into your relationships. What have I learned? There's so many things I've learned about myself, and I've been able to grow as an individual, as a business person, as a spouse, and as a mother, because there are issues that came up that, yeah, some things may have upset me, some things may have surprised me, some things have made me scared. But what did I learn about me? And how can I grow from that? And if it's a good thing, how can I continue to build on that? Because in the sense of whatever happened in those relationships, not just about me, right? But what have I learned about the other person? What have I learned about how they learn, or how they communicate, or how they deal with conflict? In my business, what have I learned about how I create my operations, or how I represent my clients? And how do my clients take this information? How do they implement it into their own businesses or lives? And from that standpoint, I've won. I've won each and every time, because I'm able to build something stronger, better, something that I can understand and that other people can understand, because I am operating from a standpoint of I never lose. I have to learn something, and I am learning something. So guys, I never lose. I either win or I learn. I want to remind you to get Athletes Making Moves book at athletesmakingmoves.com. I am going to be hosting the first Q&A around NIL and Athletes Making Moves book as well. So make sure that you DM me, email me. I'll drop my email in the comments if you guys want to just email me. If you are looking at or listening to this episode at a later time from today, there will be a link on the Athletes Making Moves website where you can go to register for the Q&A series. So this is something that I'm going to be doing for quite a while because I know it's necessary, and a lot of people are trying to, just figure out what's happening and where they fit in all of this and how to protect themselves. So this is something that will be a continuation. So if you want to be in the room and it's going to be powerful, I'm telling you, people have learned so many things just even from the book launch. Don't think that NIL is only it's only for college athletes, because everyone out there has a name, everyone out there has an image, and everyone has likeness. And it's all part of your intellectual property. But how do all these things break down? So make sure you join me, send me your email, or like I said, after this broadcast, you can check athletesmakingmoves.com so that you can sign up for the first Q&A. So I'm so excited to bring different and new things to you guys to help you to remain educated, supported, and motivated through your journey, no matter where you are. And I look forward to talking with you guys again. Until then, till next time, I'll talk to you later. Ciao.
Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is, so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Sivonnia DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success, because we're all sporting about something.